Because now, when you speak, Helena, you speak as if everybody would understand what is going on when you work like this. So maybe I would like to take it some few steps back, because it could be interesting to know what is really happening when you work like this. So I use two examples and then I jump into this. But this is the basic strategy. This is a corner of Malmö city. It's called Södra Förstadsgatan. And this is during the Malmö Festival in 1993. And I'm sitting on this corner because I was invited to do a public sculpture during on this corner during this festival period of 14 days. And then I ordered a tap of water and a container with glass so that I could close it. And then I sat there because around this corner, the only thing that was distinctive for this corner was that it was nothing that was distinctive. The only thing that was around were shops that opened 9 and closed at 6. So I thought I would add the profession of the artist and being present, doing what we artists do, and that is something that is partly useless, if you understand. It has no rational use. So I sat there from 9 in the morning till 2 o'clock, filling water into plastic bags. And then I had my lunch, and then all this publicly, and then I laid these water bags in certain shapes, photographed them, and then I took them back again and put them inside of the container. And then I went to a print shop, printed this print and put it up, so that there was this gradual growth of water bags, and it was gradual growth of photography from what happened when I was sitting there. And what happened was that it became a site of stopping, just talking to somebody, discussing, why the hell are you doing this? What's going to happen with it afterwards? Isn't this a misuse of water, etc., etc. It meant that people started talking to each other. This is the strategy if drawn like a strategy drawing. So I'm there, I'm doing something for a longer time, and then I'm not there anymore. And the reason why nobody ever asked me, why are you here, or why are you sitting on this corner, is because as soon as they hear that you're an artist, then they, so to speak, accept this condition that artists are. It's possible that we find out that we would like to sit on a corner and fill water in bags. So this is the same strategy, and now we are in about 11 years later, and I've drawn the strategy. This is the thing, I'm like almost addicted to strategies. I collect them and I try to find a drawing for them. And it's a timeline, but it's also a process. But basically it's, something happened. Basically it's also related to a possibility within a way of doing, a mode of operation. And in this case, it starts with, in this outer corner, with me making an inquiry to some locals in an urban area, which is called Trekroner, where I worked for 11 years. And this was a new urban area, and people had been moving in, so there were now some citizens to ask. I asked them, what do you want with the lake area? There was constructed an artificial lake because, it was constructed an artificial lake. And I asked them, what do you want to share? What do you want to have in common? And they, the people who came, I think it was around 30, 35 people who came and made models to show what they wanted. And then we put all of their proposals down on a fictitious master plan for how the area should be. And that ended up with sort of correcting the existing master plan. Because plans are fantasy. And these people made another fantasy, which sort of added what was not there. And then while printing this, some people called me and said, could we go out and claim the area that we think we should have had as a public space in our area? And I said yes, and we went out with these protest flags. We gained this area and then developed a plan for how to use it. And it became defined by them that they wanted to work with this BMX track. And then I added two things. Sort of a place, a plaza, a very small plaza, but with these three sculptures that also can be used to look at the bicycle race. So you can stand and be a judge, or you can stand if you're little to look at these bicycles. But also, it can be used like lanterns for a really nice party and in the summer. And then I also added people who were not in this group from the beginning, other people, other associations, the walkers, the guys who look for birds, all kinds of people that could have an interest in this area. And we ended up with having a citizen-run public space that can change like a snake that shifts skin, so that this can be seen and understood, this place, according to the needs that you have when you come. So if you want it to be a walking area for people who are over 60, this is possible. If you want it to be a bicycle BMX track, it's possible. But you can also use it for a student party or something like that. So these are the two examples to describe the basic experience that I'm going to tell you about with this drawing. If this is an artist, I have learned from my project that when I go out, meet other people, as I think happens to every artist, and they ask you, what are you doing? Then you tell them that you're an artist, but then they would immediately think of materials or clay or painting. So they ask you this question, what material you use? And I always get this really tricky situation to explain what I actually do. But gradually I've understood that when they ask like that, they are thinking of artists like a figure, the figure of the artist, who has this particular way of expressing and a way of seeing, and we also have this particular license to sort of go around in the world and establish ourselves all the way from historically from the guys who went from the different farms and painted a portrait of the farm for the farmer and got some money, and all the way up to the performance artists that are now working. That is the tradition I'm working in, and that is also the operational territory that I'm using, me and everybody else who's working like this. The difference between me and, for instance, Van Gogh or somebody else who made a sculpture is that I'm using this territory to start this inquiry. I ask questions and then I see what happens. I use it like as if it was a garden and I was the gardener, and I can walk around with it as a mobile tent, invite others, and start some processes that then can continue again and again, and actually can continue over so much time until it sort of stops by itself. So now we're in Hallonbergen and Ör. And the third version of this is using this license or territory as a backpack. So I don't even do anything with any place in the beginning. I just walk and talk to people. And in this case, I have an errand. I talk to them about something that they can relate to. And in this case, it is a municipal plan to densify a specific area. And when I ask them about this, sometimes they actually answer about the densification process, but sometimes they answer about other stuff. And now, if life is nice to me, this is going to be a film that works. But it could see it looks like it doesn't, so I have it here. No, I don't. Den vill inte synas, men jag tar den här. Sorry, I take it from the beginning so that you can follow what he's saying.
Alltså det här gäller alla förorter. Man är mycket tajtare än vi säger till exempel några kompisar från Östermalm. För alltså hur ska jag förklara det? Alltså? Vi är ute med varandra kanske 60-70% av tiden. Sen 30% är man hemma, eller hur? Ja. Är det? Man går hem, man är ute, man kommer hem, kollar på TV, käkar, sover. Man går hem, man äter, man går ut.
Mm. Men när man då inte får gå på fritidsklubben, eller fritidsklubben är stängd, och man har varandra, men man har inte något att göra. Hur slutar en sån cocktail?
Får vi se. Kan sluta illa.
Mm.
Det har slutat illa flera gånger. De hade stängt fritidsgården här. Så de var väldigt uttråkade. Så gick de till Hallonbergsskolan.
Mm.
Så började de vandalisera där. Ta sönder alla rutor, bränna upp bilar och såna här grejer. Så började de kasta sig molotovs mot polisen och allt möjligt. De bara för de är uttråkade.
Det är ibland så tyvärr känns det som de inte känner att de har någon framtid på något sätt. Utan och sen är de ju inte straffmyndiga, är de inte. Så då tycker de att de kan ha det här som sin lekplats och göra lite vad de vill och stärka centrumet så att säga.
Vad gör de då?
Ja, stör pensionärerna, spelar fotboll. Så det har varit en del kanske överfall eller de har ju bara slitit ifrån, tagit på mobilen helt enkelt. Det är ungefär det värsta som...
Så det är ett par killar som går upp, ställer sig ett gäng, snor åt sig telefonen och drar?
Och springer, precis. Ja. Det verkar inte som ungdomarna bryr sig så himla mycket om kameran ändå. För de fortsätter ändå att ha de här personrånen, ta mobiltelefoner. Så jag vet inte riktigt hur mycket det hjälper. Men
betyder det att du kan se samma som tog en mobiltelefon igår springa runt i centret som om ingenting hade hänt?
Ja, absolut. Ja.
Stöter inte det din rättskänsla?
Jo, det är lite sorgligt att se. Liksom. Man blir ju...
Många av dem har tappat hoppet. Mm. Jag ser idag en 19-åring som jag bryr mig inte för. So what? Sitter inne, sitter ute. Vissa pratar om att springa om jag dör. Ja, det har jag svårt att beskriva vad det kommer att hända. Men att det kommer in mer folk som ser ut idag. Då blir problemet mer och mer. Då har vi mer problem. Då har vi mer ungdomar att ta tag i. Ja, det är vår framtid som springer på gatorna. Det är de som ska betala deras pension. Foten. Hej.
He actually says these are all like cuts from these 8-minute long films. I made around 50 of those films, and he says later on in this film that he says, well, I know them all. I actually sold a carpet to that one when he was 1 year old. So I think that was a really... How do I get out of this, please? Thank you for being there. Technique is not my strong side. This is the one here. As you saw before, you saw this image also from Helena, that after these films were made, I put them on YouTube. And seeing yourself on YouTube made you also aware of yourself, because it became a public space. What was really, really local, or even immensely local, became very public, and as such added something in a mapping strategy, but also adding a voice to the planning as it was. But it was also the effect of seeing oneself in the museum or seeing others speaking. This was a situation where the boys were really enjoying to see this man, the last one you saw. I think they replayed him like 7 times like that because they thought he was so funny. But the essence of this is that you found yourself being a citizen, and you also found out that you share the territory with somebody else. And people wanted to meet. So what we did, we made a planning around this huge model where we asked people to come and solve the same assignment that the politicians had to solve, but solve it in another way, in the way they thought was the right. So they had to discuss with each other and had to find out. Later, the city received from us a so-called counter plan, but it wasn't counter like this counter plan. It was a plan just proposing what was not in the original plan. Because, for instance, the responses from people, they don't look at the particular area of planning. They look at the whole situation. They look at their everyday. They look at their the hierarchies in society. They add a lot of things that cannot be applied within a pre-format, which was decided for this particular plan. So in that sense, the city felt that they received a lot of response, but they wanted it more concrete so that we could go deeper into the material. So then I constructed a strategy, which was a strategy to how to sort of pump up the different information to a certain level of discussion and then have it discussed and translated to actual proposals. And the format of meetings you've already seen also from Helena. The thing that happens here is that because I do not have any power, I am not a part of the city, and I'm an outsider in many ways. So because of this territory became a space where also conflicts could grow. Conflicts that normally were not spoken about. That were not how do you say, possible. There was no time frame or work within the city that they could actually use. I wonder what happened there. Sorry. So here you're supposed to see this. This is a blurry picture showing you two time frames. The one up is the normal time frame for a process when you plan for a new urban area. The other one is where we got a lot of solutions, a lot of possibilities that would come up if they were implemented, if you saw the urban development as an opportunity for solving a lot of stuff that was always there and had been pointed out in the films. This is the difference, I think, and I'm throwing this on to you guys who speak about planning later. For me, this is the difference that normally when you plan a new urban area, somebody comes from the outside with a solution. In this case, there was a planning, at least in the format, that came from the inside and defined what was going to go on in the future. I won't go into the differences, but as I said before, the planning area had been expanded, but also the notion, the understanding of the urban areas as a whole. How were they connected to the city? Who had access to them? And what were the status for the people within these areas in relation to how the status was in other areas? Questions of equality, for instance, equality with access to education, equality with access to green areas, and so on. There were a lot of stuff that came up. So the plan we presented was a way to compensate for something that was not there, but was as possible as it was for the more rich areas. This is images from post-PARK LEK. On that side, you see a workshop performed by the city in February, where the same people who participated in PARK LEK were invited back to define what kind of houses were to be built in the first new settlement. This is the Toppstugan, which is so to say, we reinstalled something that was taken away before I came to Hallonbergen, but was a great part of what was going on in the minds of the people, that they really missed this community building from where you could make parties, concerts, or whatever. And that was reinstated and in a shape that was defined by one of the workshops that we were having. And here is you asked about that before, Robert. This is the plan now from the city, and they stick to the plan that we made, the division of where the new allotments are. That's kept on. I understand time is over, otherwise I would have shown you a film where you can see the same people who are participating in the films are also participating in a discussion. Among others, we see you speak about your work in the helping kids in the library, help them to do their homework, and how important it is. But we can see that. You can also see it on the website. So I've tried to encircle how I think I use, so to speak, the inheritance from Van Gogh, but I use it in a different way. And I think it's also important to say that when I use it in a different way, the artwork is also different. The artwork is actually not physical, but it is physical. It's secondary effects. It's memory of having done something in a specific way, because that's contagious. If you have tried it once, it's possible to try it again. And I hope that could be a good ending point.